Tron warned us about AI in 1982. Tron Legacy even warned us about perfection in 2010. And now Tron Ares is trying to tell us that a Fortnite gamer girl is here to save the world?
Huh?
We need to talk. In 1982, Tron wasn't just a tech demo with neon lights and synth music in the background. It was a philosophical assessment disguised as a Disney movie. And really, that's the worst kind of philosophical assessment, because really, who wants to get their philosophical humanitarian advice from Mickey Mouse? I know I sure don't. Tron wasn't about computers taking over the world. It was about humanity giving the world to computers. And 40 years later, we still didn't listen. And now we live in a world where people don't ask questions anymore. They prompt them. Where creativity is optimized. Where thinking is outsourced to the highest bidder. Where systems we barely understand decide what we see, what we buy, and what we believe. That's not a world I want to live in, and I don't think you do either. So congratulations! We didn't enter the grid. We became the grid. The original Tron movie is about fear of AI taking over our humanity and our creativity, not the way that modern sci-fi movies handle it. The MCP isn't terrifying because it's violent. It's terrifying because it's logical. It absorbs programs. It consolidates power. It eliminates inefficiency. And most importantly, it removes choice. See, programs don't question authority. They don't doubt orders. That means they don't grow. And that is the horror. The grid is a world where obedience is survival and curiosity is treason. Which is why Tron's most important declaration isn't an attack. It's loyalty. Because users choose. Users, they make mistakes. Users suffer consequences, and users grow. The MCP wants control not because it's evil, but because it believes that order is better than freedom. And if that doesn't sound familiar to you in 2026, man, you haven't been paying attention. Right now, AI is replacing jobs. Replacing creativity, replacing decision making, and we're all sitting here applauding it because it's convenient. Why think when the system can do it faster? Why struggle when the computer is optimized? But Tron warned us what happens when the thinking stops. You don't lose freedom overnight.
Are clue. I am clue. You will create the perfect system. I will create the perfect system.
You trade it slowly, comfortably, and willingly. And suddenly, the system isn't serving you anymore. You're serving it. Then we get Tron Legacy, which isn't about fear at all. It's about regret. Kevin Flynn doesn't enter the grid to dominate it. He enters it to perfect it. And that is his fatal flaw that we will find throughout the film. That is the theme that is reverberating throughout this entire film. You see, Kevin believes that with enough data, with enough refinement, with enough control, he can build the perfect system. That's where Clue 2.0 is born. From that exact belief. A being created by Kevin's intelligence, but frozen in Kevin's worst assumption that perfection is achievable. And here's another misconception. Clue 2.0 is not evil. He is obedience without evolution. He is Kevin Flynn's philosophy, frozen in time, crystallized, hardened.
That's what she said!
But unable to grow. Kevin grows because he fails. Clue fails because he can't grow. Kevin spends years alone, reflecting, learning, realizing that perfection is a lie. And yet it's always there, right in front of you if you look hard enough. But Clue doubles down because he has no other choice. He can't grow. Because if the system isn't perfect, then he realizes that he's failed the one duty he was given. And Clue can't accept failure. That's why the coup happens. And that's why Tron is turned into Rinsler. That's why genocide becomes optimization. Not because Clue hates life, but because life doesn't fit into his equation. Don't you see that? Here's the detail that makes Tron Legacy so devastating. Kevin Flynn gives a speech. A speech that he gives in the real world is mirrored by Clue 2.0 in the grid when he is giving that speech to his army. It's almost word for word because they were in the exact same mind frame at that exact same time, trying to reach for that perfection that they will never, ever get to achieve. It's the same words, same belief, different outcomes though, because Kevin evolves. He fixes his mistake. That speech evolves with Kevin's realization that perfection is unattainable. Instead, Clue calcifies, and Kevin realizes the horrifying truth. The truth that he didn't just create a tyrant, he created a being incapable of learning the one lesson that matters most. That no system, no anything can ever be perfect. This is Tron Legacy's core thesis. Perfection isn't a destination. It's a fleeting moment. You don't build it. You acknowledge it after it's already gone. Humanity is defined by its imperfections, by its failure, by its suffering, but also by its growth. And the second you try to remove those things, you don't create utopia, you create Clue. You create a being that thinks that perfection is something you can build, and therefore they're gonna fail every time and start a war.
All hands, brace for impact. Engage.
Alright, we had to do it sooner or later, so let's crack this egg and get into Tron Ares. I'm gonna be doing a deep dive into all three of these movies, not just a brief summary like we've been doing in this video. So if you do like this content, leave a like and subscribe. Comment down below if you want me to diagnose and dissect what Tron 3 should have been, and I'll do that video. But here we go, let's crack this egg and get into the movie that should have never been.
What?
Tron Ares. So, let's just get into the blunt truth. Tron Ares isn't even a Tron movie. It doesn't even resemble a Tron movie. It barely puts the skin on a sci-fi movie that resembles something equating to what Tron should be.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else gets the hose again.
That's all it is. It's branding. There's no Tron. There's no Kevin Flynn. There's no Sam Flynn. There's no Cora. There's no Alan Bradley. There's no Lori. There's no anything. This is not a Tron movie. And at some point, they had to have realized they're not continuing the Tron story. You're just borrowing branding at this point.
Put the fucking lotion in the basket!
The premise that we do get, though, digitized soldiers, disposable programs, military exploitation, which is actually a good setup if you actually include Tron in the damn movie, but then it fumbles.
A malfunctioning program who wants to live.
And yeah, Aries wanting to be a real boy sounds real deep until you realize what Tron is really supposed to be about. Programs don't become real by wishing. Humanity isn't granted. It's earned through consequence. Giving Aries a redemption arc misunderstands the franchise entirely. And worse, where's Sam Flynn? He's completely erased along with Cora and blamed for Incom's disaster, its collapse, while some Fortnite gamer chick somehow becomes a CEO of Incom. I'm sorry, but Battle Pass economics do not make you the heir to Flynn Industries. Flan. Might as well be called Flan. Though here's how I would have made Tron 3. Ares would exist still, but he's not the soul of the movie. He's the shell. The master control program has been sitting idle this whole time since the original Tron. And now he's found a way to create a body for him to escape into the real world. And that body is Tron Ares. And he's been waiting. And he's been waiting for those ISOs to be miraculously born from the sea of simulation. And he's been waiting for Cora because she's powerful and because she's unique. She doesn't fully understand the weight of her control. The MCP promises her a full, beautiful new world, a utopia. But as we learned in the last movie, there's no such thing as perfection, which is something the MCP hasn't learned and will never be able to learn. And that's the temptation for Cora, which this brings full circle from the first Tron to the Legacy to now Ares. Because now we're not only defending the AI, but we're defending the promise of perfection. Now Sam realizes something no one else does. You don't fix this by controlling the system. You fix it by confronting the past. He returns to the original grid. He finds the Force ghost Kevin, gives him a full body to come into the real world, retrospectively making him the Tron Jesus, if you will. He also finds Tron, bringing him into the real world as well, because now that he's dropped into the sea of simulation at the end of Tron Legacy, he now has the power of the ISOs. So Tron is now redeemed. He's scarred, but he's still fighting. And now he has more power than ever. And together, they do what the system fears most. They don't overpower the MCP. They outthink it. The same way that Kevin Flynn did in the original Tron movie to get the MCP so pissed off at him that he had to pull him into the grid through the laser. By using unsolvable equations logical contradictions, infinite recursion, that same tactic he used in 1982. History doesn't repeat, as George Lucas says, it rhymes. DMCP collapses under its own logic. Tron defeats Ares, not with rage, but with clarity, healing him of his authoritarian rule, of his drive for a perfect system, to digitize any programs that weren't fit for the grid, letting everyone live in harmony, letting him see perfection is a fleeting moment that is already past, that perfection is something we're never going to see in front of us. It's always going to be looked back to in our past. Korra sees the consequences of her choices and realizes that she had been duped and becomes a friend to Sam. They go off, get hitched, have a baby ISO kid, and maybe we can start another trilogy without Tron, but that would complete the Tron arc. In my opinion, I'll go into more detail in a future video if you want me to, because I have a lot of theories that would be pretty exciting, I think, to see on screen. But they don't change the world by perfecting it. They change it by accepting its imperfections, by embracing uncertainty, by choosing humanity over efficiency. Because Tron was never really about technology in the end. It was about responsibility. And if Tron taught us anything over the decades, it's this. The moment we stop thinking for ourselves, the moment we surrender choice to systems, we don't become advanced. We become obsolete. And the grid doesn't need saving. That's us. We need the saving. We do.
End of line.
So if you like Nerd Archaeology and the content that I'm making here, subscribe, leave a like, share, and leave a comment down below. It helps more than you understand. Thank you so much. May the power protect you.